So, because I'm doing something that's human related, I figured we'd give a brief history of the islands, and how it's been affected by humans over the years. It's one of 3 islands. It's got 4,000 people. It's roughly 20 square miles. It's 1,100 miles to Miami. Ecosystems and climate's varied. Other people have already talked about that. Christopher Columbus discovered it. It first got settlers in the 17th century. In 1717, the Danish West India and Guinea Company had a charter, so they began to grow the sugarcane there. The height of the slave trade was 1733, but that same year, there was a huge revolt, a slave revolt, and half the plantations were destroyed. Business recovered, but it didn't matter because in 1848, there was the emancipation of the slaves. The island pretty much was stagnant economy-wise until 1917. The U.S. bought it because they feared that the Germans in World War I would have a military outpost that was too close to the mainland, so they bought it. It exchanged hands. The Rockefellers donated the land for the national park, and now over 50% of it is now national park, and I already explained why the history. So my hypothesis was that the human influences on the canopy and how much canopy there would have negative effects on the plants and animals. Around Cinema Bay, which is, so here we go, the map, that black box. We have the study areas right there. That's the campground, and then that red area is the plantation ruins. This is a map of the campground where we stayed. This is study site 1. 8 and 9 is where the professor stayed, and then the other 8. And I studied that courtyard right there and the area behind. This courtyard, area behind. And then this is a picture of our courtyard. You can see there's not many trees. We're going to talk about that. This is me taking a picture up just so you can see the canopy. Alright, so this is the self-guided trail in the plantation ruins. Once again, you can see in one of the areas there's not a lot of trees where the humans have been present. But then when you get into the trail, it's a lot different. So my materials was the light meter. You're already familiar with that because of Casey. I used a tape measure for some things, digital camera skills, and what I hope is keen observation skills. My methods, I had this type of measurement called diameter breast height, which is where you approach a tree, and then roughly right here, you take a measurement around the tree, and you measure this same spot throughout all the trees that you're going to measure. Normally, it's used to compare growth over the years, but I used it to compare growth between sites. And I used the camera on pictures of animals and data in action. So this is not the best picture of me, but this is me doing DBH. That citation is wrong, actually. Casey took that photo, so I got to give him credit. This is the light meter. This is that area behind the campground. Okay, let me pass you the map. This is basically behind our cabins, and as you can see, there's different notches on this light meter right here. So when it spikes this bottom setting, you have to notch it up and then get the measurement. So it's actually about 50 something right here. I don't like this too much. Too far. Nope. Okay, so my results were positive and negative plants and animals. My hypothesis was proved and disproved in both cases. Welcome to science. So this is the data. As you can see, the natural canopy has a lot less light than the human canopy. This is, once again, the light meter readings. As you can see, the real difference here is in the notches, the placement of the notches. This is on the highest notch. There's a lot of light in the human areas. This is vine composition. One of the things I measured was how many vines are on the trees in which locations. And you can see a big difference here between the courtyard, where the humans were, and then the natural canopy, where there wasn't a lot of disturbances. And then this is another map, vines, and then vines. You can see the differences. This is the DBH that I was talking about. As you can see, in the human areas, there's a big There's a big difference. And there's only 2 trees of the coconut palm that I measured in the non-human areas. So you're starting to see like a lot of differences between human and natural. And these are some pictures. These gashes in these trees are caused from humans, like if they're cutting the trees, and then these trees heal back. Now obviously you can see there's some bent growth. Right here the tree has grown strangely. In a natural canopy it'll grow pretty much straight up, like these trees right here. And then you can see the vines are a lot different too. So this is the palm composition map. Once again, a lot of tree pines out here, palms, sorry, and not so many back here. And then this is for the animals. I actually collected data with another person Clint, who's presenting next. We did this together. So you can see between the natural and the human areas that there's a big difference except for the grass. You know, there's a big difference in the amount of lizards. And then this is by gender, is just the crested animals. You have, in this one particular site, there's almost no males. So we'll talk about that in a minute. And then I also did the pearly-eyed thrasher and its behavior and things of that nature between sites. So right here in this picture, you see four birds, but in a natural canopy, there's only really they're solitary. And I'm sure all of us who went on this trip remember this. They would frequently into the dining area, swoop in and try to scavenge off the plates, and they're really aggressive in human areas, but they're not aggressive in the wild that I noticed. This is him in the wild right here. It's not the easiest picture, but you can see he's by himself and he's not doing a whole lot. So like I said, the DVH was higher in human areas. The light was, so therefore the light was 2 to 4 times higher. 22 vines versus 142. 32 palms versus 2 palms. Uh-oh. Is this right? Yeah. Okay, so the thrashers, I noticed, I didn't get pictures, but they would oftentimes in the human areas try to nest in the eaves of the bathroom, and they would never succeed in this. So they're taking a lot of time to try to build these nests when they could be foraging for food or finding potential mates. So this actually shows a negative effect on the thrashers. Like I said, groups versus solidarity. And when they're in the groups in the human areas, they're really aggressive and they attack each other for food. Versus in the wild, they're by themselves and they get to be a lot more peaceful. So the intense aggression. The animals had a lack of males in the human areas. The species distribution was a lot different. And the abundance, this is actually, the animals actually concluded that it's an inconclusive in comparison to my hypothesis because they're not really it's not positive or negative, it's just there. It just happened. Palms benefit the most. They're shade intolerant, so they like lots of sun, so they grow a lot. But vines take a beating in the open. Thrashers spend too much time in the bathroom. They're calm in the wild, fighters around humans, and they're dependent also in human areas for sources of food. I would see them scavenging in the trash cans outside, all sorts of things. Increased territoriality, that could explain the absence of males because males frequently will actually kill each other in territoriality, and sometimes they'll even be cannibalistic. Proved, disproved, and inconclusive in some areas. This is my literature cited. So I just want to give thanks to several people. My family's here. They drove from Georgia. Group members. I'm pretty sure we kind of bonded on this trip in a lot of ways. I know that sounds like almost corny, but I don't think we would have survived without each other. And especially Clint, because he helped me on the lizards a lot. And I especially want to extend my thanks to the professors because we had all hardships on this trip. They had the biggest hardship because they had the stress of not dealing with all of us, but keeping us safe and stuff like that. So yeah, I can't imagine having to do that. So is there any questions?
The effect that we've heard about called the edge effect, and how, at the edge of forest, there's a lot more animal activity. And maybe if you had just studied plants or just studied animals, you would have had different conclusions, or maybe there's a difference in their lifestyle, that edge effect.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I realized, especially yesterday when I was compiling all this, that I did too much. That I should have done just plants or just animals, but I wanted to do something that would give you a whole picture of like how humans affect the canopy, the amount of light, and how it affects plants and animals.
I think Dr. Thomas was saying it was good to do everything.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
you're
think
saying it
is
was good? Okay, I thought you were
Yeah,
saying.
No, no.
because he's got a bigger picture.
Yeah, I think a bigger picture, but I'm saying that if you'd only studied one or the other, you wouldn't have known as much
Yeah,
as you
there's a lot, especially in my study, there's a lot of, there could have been a lot of room for error, like, certain lizards are more active in early morning hours than, we mostly did it in mid-afternoon. The light meter, once again, based on the time of day, could have affected it.
One thing I think you mentioned the vines, I think probably it's less appealing to people staying in the cottages to have the plants out in the courtyard. So I'm sure they clean them out, and so, the vine is a human influence, just getting rid of them for the sake of everyone that's staying there.
Actually, let me get,
You may go back.
yeah, all the way to, the slide that has the picture of the campground.
This one?
No, the map of campground, sorry. Yeah, it's a lot of slides. I tried to go through it. Yeah, that one. Okay, so you remember where the beach shack was, right? Well, right here in this intersection, actually, it's heavy human use, but right here, there's a lot of vines there, and it's in direct contact with humans, I guess, and there's like vines hanging all down, you can catch your head on it and stuff like that. So the campground owners are actually not controlling the vines as much as it would seem. I mean, they might be in the area I studied, but they're definitely not doing it over here, which has just as many people as anything else.
Well, that's the tent side.
Yeah, that's true. So
That's the area
they could have kept it natural
they may
on
have kept
purpose.
it.
I got you.
Okay. Thank you, Cody.